Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of To The Max Outdoors. As you can see here, laid out on the sawhorses here on the backside of my house on this beautiful summer mid-morning, we got ourselves a 17-foot Sears and Roebuck 4-person canoe. I know, canoes really aren't something you've ever seen on the channel before, and that's because I've never had a canoe until now. A woman that I worked with, her father, had this laying around, and I decided to pick it up. The purpose for this canoe is going to be for putting some duck decoys, goose decoys out for this waterfowl season. Max and I are starting to get into some waterfowl hunting more so now than we ever have before, and rather than dragging the boat around or wading into water that is probably too deep or too mucky of a bottom, I went and picked up this old canoe. Now when I say old canoe, this canoe is somewhere in the 70s. I didn't do the research to figure out the manufacturer date, but it was a good price and I went and got it. Now, the purpose of this video is going to be doing a little bit of repair to it. As you can see, this canoe has an awesome like birchwood, it has birch bark pattern to it. I love that and it's really cool, but unfortunately, like I said, this canoe is somewhere between 35 and 45 years old. I don't really know. The man I bought it from is well into his 80s and he's had it for a good long time. This canoe did come from New York, I believe. As you can see up there on the front, there's some markings on the front of it that will take off. So yeah, this canoe's been around. It appears that it's got a decent bit of use on it, and it has some small damage spots on it here that I'll show you here after a bit. But basically what this is we're going to give this canoe here a little bit of a facelift. I figured it'd be pretty something fairly cool to add to the channel. All we're going to do is scuff it down a little bit. We're going to put some fiberglass repair on the spots that need some repair, and we're going to give it a nice paint job. Like I said, this thing's going to get used a handful of times every year. It's not something that we're going to go out in all the time. It's not something that's really ever going to be too far from shore. So I'm not really overly concerned about making it beautiful. I really want to try to preserve what it is because I think it's got a really awesome paint job, but I'm not going to take the time to duplicate it. We're just going to go back with a solid color on it, and I'm just going to show you how to do a little bit of a fiberglass repair to it. So give me a second there. I'll get the other camera hooked up and I'll show you some of the damages. All right, we'll walk around here and do a little bit of a before shot on the canoe. As you can see here on the keel part of it, it does have a little bit of wear. We'll put some resin over that, make it go away. Overall, like I said, the canoe's in really good shape. It's just got some worn spots on it. As you can see, it's really not horrible shape. This area right here, as you can see here, it is a crack and it does go all the way through. So this area here, I'm going to say a baseball size diameter right there, that area is going to definitely need repaired. There is some old where they just filled some cracks in with resin, but I will tell you that none of these cracks here, the ones that they filled with resin over the time, none of these go through. There's only one spot that goes through. We already addressed that. That'll be our biggest repair to the whole entire thing. And overall, I think I got a really good deal on it. I don't really have a whole lot of money in it, so I'm not complaining too much about it. But just a little bit of a walk around to it here shows you that it really is in pretty decent shape for the most part, and definitely for being, like I said, 35, 45 years old. I'm not real sure, but overall I'm happy with it. It's a pretty cool little project here now that summer's kind of winding down. So I'm gonna quit flapping my gums here and we're gonna get into it, so hang tight. So here we are for starters. Like I was talking about, it's got an old registration number on it. I'm assuming the state of New York or where these people were from the Northeast originally and moved to West Virginia later on in life. I'm going to take the registrations off because obviously we don't want to paint over them. We want to try to do as decent of a job as we can. We'd like to see our paint adhere pretty well to it, but you know, just generally going to show you here how I go about it. This is a tedious part of it. It's kind of the prep work is definitely the most tedious part of it, and it's the biggest part of it, really, to be honest with you. Prep work is where the finished results come from. So I won't bore you with the whole decal remover there from the registration, but like I said, I got myself a little razor blade here and a little razor blade holder. I'm gonna stick here and I'm gonna peel this sticker off, and I don't think you need to see it. So common sense stuff. All right, so as you can see down here, we've removed our sticker. And like I said, this is the tedious part. That's the part that your surface preparation part is definitely the part that plays the biggest role in how your final outcome adheres and how it looks on there. So take your time, do what you need to do right on that. And the very next step that we're going to do is I'm going to take this palm sander here and I'm going to sand the entire boat. And I'm especially going to pay attention to the areas that I showed you earlier that have some erosion on them or have a little bit of I'm going to call top damage on them. I would assume that this boat, it's a chopped fiberglass boat. You can tell on the inside that it's definitely a chopped fiberglass boat. I got to assume that it had a gel coat on it originally. I'm just assuming that because of the finish that's still on it, but the sunlight and some of the outdoors and just basically being 35, 45 years old, it's taking its time on it. So I'm going to take some of this 60 grit sandpaper. I know 60 grit's a little bit aggressive, but that's fine. I want to hit it with some fill primer afterwards, and I'm going to put a nice heavy top coat on it, so I'm not really worried about it. But I really need to smooth down the majority of the imperfections in it that I don't like, and in our repair areas I'm going to put a little bit of a taper to them. So I'm not a fiberglass repair expert by no means, but I have played around with it enough at my job and home life that I got a little bit of an idea. But I'm going to put a little bit of a taper to your repair areas, and you're going to build your layers of fiberglass up, and you're going to build basically a doubler for all that bad repair area. Like our repair area there, that's the size of a baseball, we're going to end up 3 to 4 times as big as it was with our final piece, so we spread that load out and it doesn't crack again. For the other areas, we're just going to hit it with a little bit of epoxy. We're just going to brush it in and we'll sand it down before we paint it. Like I said, we're not going for a museum quality finish here. We're just going for a good, nice quality finish, something that'll last us, you know, for as long as we need. Like I said, we're not going to use it a whole bunch. So anyways, I'll put the camera on some time lapse here. I'm going to take my 60 grit, my little palm sander, and I'm going to hit this entire canoe over. Definitely, I will tell you, wear some PPE. I got some rubber gloves on here. I got my dust mask on here. You don't want to be sucking this stuff down, whether it's the paint or the fiberglass. You definitely don't want to be sucking it down. That should go without saying, but I figured I would say it anyways. My hands are sweating. It's hard to get my rubber gloves on, but it is what it is. So without further ado, the next clip is going to be time lapse me sanding on this fella. All right, there you go. So from the short little time-lapse clip that you've seen there before this one, I probably have about an hour and 50 minutes in sanding this entire canoe down. Now it is a 17-foot canoe. You know, it's a big canoe. But what I did with that sandpaper was I was trying to take the shine off of it, for lack of better terms, because like I said, even though we have a few areas that we repair, I still want my paint to adhere to the rest of it, because we are going to paint the rest of it. In the areas where I'm going to do repairs, I did take the paint completely down to it. There's another white layer under this tan birch colored layer, so I did take it down to that so I could get good adhesion there. I'm pretty happy with it. Now if you were in a time crunch, you could take some alcohol, mineral spirits, wipe this whole thing down and go ahead and do your repairs. But we're not in a time crunch. I've got the pressure washer out here. We're going to take a few minutes here. As you can see, we're in the middle of the day. That's actually what I did. I sanded the canoe down to where I was happy with it. I went in and changed my clothes. I grabbed a bite to eat there for lunch, and I waited for the sun to get overhead. I'm going to take the pressure washer to it. That's going to make me feel happy about getting all the loose particles off and whatever remnants of dirt are left and all the sanding residue left. I'm going to hit it all with the pressure washer. So I feel like I did a pretty good job on it. I'll hit it with the pressure washer here, get it all nice and cleaned up. come back and take a look at it and see how we did. Okay, so as you've seen there by the short clip of me time-lapse pressure washing it off, that's another way to get this boat cleaned off of all the paint residue, the fiberglass residue, dirt, foam, whatever was on it that I didn't want on it. That was another way for me to get, I don't know, that's just a little electric Harbor Freight pressure washer. It's 2100 psi it says on it. That's just another way for me to get another set of eyes and another inspection on it. So I'm going to take the handheld GoPro here. I'm going to turn it on, and I will walk around and I will show you guys what I did to prep the spots that I'm going to repair it with. So, So, here you are on the handheld GoPro. As you can see here, I've sanded it all the way down. As you can tell, it's white around it. Somebody's put some resin in here over the years, but I sanded that down. I've sanded this spot here down, make them nice and white. I try to take all the existing paint off of it. Now right here was what I'm going to call a stress crack. That was just in the top layer. That's in the resin or in the gel coat. So I sanded that down. I'll hit that again with some epoxy. Like I was talking about the keels here, I sanded those down. It just has some small scratches in it. Here's our big repair that I was talking about. Hope this is coming out good here in the sunlight, but that's the big repair. I've sanded it down considerably bigger outside. I will lay multiple layers on the outside and multiple layers on the inside of this, and I will make that go away, and I'll make this boat ready for the water. There again, you're looking for that nice dull finish on the boat to make sure, well, I say boat, actually canoe, you're looking for that nice dull finish to make sure that you've prepped your areas good and everything. So that's all good. As you can tell, we're in the middle of the day. I think I said that already once. I'm gonna let this set out here for 2, 3, 4 hours, and we'll work on this some more this evening. So stay tuned, we'll bring you back this evening. Okay, so here we go. We're ready to do some fiberglass, and as you can see here where I'm pointing, I've got the GoPro sitting on a tripod here. This is the area that we're wanting to repair. Now right here, sitting on underneath these pair of scissors, I have 3 repair pieces of cloth that we're going to use here. Now, I've already mixed my resin up. Resin in fiberglass is one thing. I'm not going to give you what I'm using because there's a million different things you can kind of use. I went for an all-purpose one. There's different types of resins that were used over the years that aren't compatible with each other. Do your research. The internet's a good thing for that kind of research. Kind of figure out what you got, figure out what works best for you. So I've got me a nice camel hair brush here. I'm going to get it wet. I'm just going to wet down the area that I want to start with. Now I will say that I do have the inside backed up with some masking tape and some mold release on that. We are going to do the inside. I won't do that on camera. I'll do it off camera, but that'll keep you laying right. So I'm going to lay my first repair piece down where I'm happy with it. I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to work it down nice and smooth. I'll try to keep any pockets out of it, and you're going to see this cloth wetting down as you're working it around here, and that's what you want. You want this cloth to wet down, and for lack of a better term, you want it to become invisible, is the best way I can say it. Now, I'm no master fiberglass worker by no means. I've said that many times before, but you want to keep it as see-through as possible. And we're just going to do a little bit of resin. We're going to work it through. Now, in the area where it was busted, obviously you're not going to be able to wet it down just as good because there's no backing there to hold it up other than that tape. We're not worried about that. We're wanting a nice good coat on it. So there we go. I'm happy with that one. I'm going to work over to my next coat, and I'm going to stagger my plies. If you know anything or heard anybody, the ply direction is kind of crucial. I'm going to try to keep my plies on a 45 to each other, and that'll gain us maximum strength as possible. There again, that's a little bit overkill, but if you're going to go this far, you might as well do it proper. So there we go. You seen there a minute ago, I didn't have it wet enough for that repair, so I took and got it wet so it would adhere good. But repeat the process. Put it on there, try to make it as invisible as possible. That ensures you're not getting an air pocket in there. You don't have any trapped air bubbles where you won't adhere very well. Just keep working it around, adding a little bit of resin at a time. We don't want to overdo it, because the more you put on is the more you got to sand off, and the possibility of having an air pocket. Now I'm going to keep running everything over to the edge, and you will get some stray fibers. I just pull them off. That's a good thing about having a set of nitrile gloves on. Some little air pockets underneath of it. I'm going to take my brush and work those little air pockets down. Beautiful. Looking absolutely beautiful. Now for the last and final repair patch cover. We'll go around the outside of it again. Try to get the outside of it as wet as possible without making any big wrinkles or other air pockets in our second piece. Get my third piece, figure out the orientation that I want to put it on there. Work it down nice. Oh, deer running down there below us. Always something around here. Take and work that down in through there, getting our edges down nice and flat. I like to see that. I like to see it soaking up the resin from underneath of it. That means I'm getting a good adhesion underneath of it. I'm happy about that. Now this resin doesn't have a really long working pot life on it because we are in the blaring sun. It is definitely in the high 80s. It might be close to 90 today. This is obviously not the most ideal setup, but it's the time that we got to do it, and we're going to do it. There again, working out a little bit of a white colored pocket, meaning we didn't have good adhesion. Working that around, our edges are setting nice and pretty. That really looks good. I'm going to take a little bit of extra resin. I'm going to go around the edges of it. Just going to feather it all out to pull any of the loose strands that we may have. That's just a pet peeve of mine. I don't like having loose strands sticking out of a fiberglass repair. It's just as easy now to pick them up off of there. Get rid of them. You're not fighting them trying to sand them. Sometimes they're hard to sand. All in all, this repair is looking really good so far. I like the way that it adhered. I like the way the resin took to it. And there you go. Just as simple as that. Now, there you go. Nice repair. We'll let that dry and we'll come back at it. All right, so there we have it. We have our boat repair done. Everything is cured. I'm really happy with all the repairs and the little blemishes that we filled in with our leftover epoxy that we had. I don't know if I mentioned that or not while I was doing the repairs, but I mixed up enough resin after the repair patches here and the one on the other side that I come and I filled in some of the nicks and some of the gouges, and when I was sanding it, I kind of made some mental notes of some areas that I thought, hey, you know, I'm gonna lay a little bit of resin over this and just give it a little bit of more strength. It probably wasn't necessary, but it made me feel better anyways. Now I'm going to paint the top metal on this boat too. This top metal is pretty well corroded, and I do not feel like taking the time to sand it all down and de-rivet it and put it back on. So I'm going to hit it all with some primer for the evening, and then we'll let it set all night. It's been about 2.5, almost 3 hours since I did the epoxy, the resin, I'm sorry, the fiberglass repairs and the epoxy over the rest of the holes. I will say a slow drying resin is typically a stronger, more flexible resin. Like I said, there's a lot of information out there on the internet about it. Read about it, make your own determination on what you want to do. So I'm just going to hit it here with some rattle can primer, I should say. I fully understand that this finish is not as durable as a gel coat. I know that. I don't want to do a gel coat. I don't want to spend the money, and I don't want to take the time to do it. So it's going to get a nice layer of primer. It's going to get a light scuff, and then it's going to get a color of our choice. And I'm not real sure what that is yet. We'll make that determination later on this evening when we go out and figure out what color we're going to get. So we'll do some time lapse here of some primer, and we'll go there, and we'll pick you back up here after we get it fully primed. All right, we're back on this. Now we got a turkey behind us. Jeez whiz, we had a deer this morning and a turkey now. I can't get the camera turned around. We got a turkey down over the hill. There was a deer this morning and a turkey now. But anyways, as you can see here, we have multiple colors of primer. I've officially put 2 full cans and 3 piece cans that I had in my house. I'm officially out of primer right now. That is okay. I don't care that it's multicolored. I know it looks like it shouldn't, but this is a redneck rejuvenation, and we're fine because this is just primer. I just wanted to get all that scratched up, roughed up surface that we took our time to sand down. I wanted to get it all filled in, laid down nice. Now I see where I was a little heavy with the resin, where I was repairing some of the spots on the keel, some of the gouges, I'm going to call it, that the boat had in it. I'm good. I'm happy with it. There again, we're not going for a museum quality restoration here. We're just getting this thing back usable, and we want to make it last another 35 to 40 years, however old this one may be. I'm happy with it. I don't know what else to say. The only thing I can say is tonight Max and I got some deciding on what the final color is going to be, if we're going to go with some kind of pattern on it. So we've been kicking some things back and forth, and we'll find out tomorrow on the video. Like I said, I've probably got I probably got about 4 hours overall in this. You know, some sanding, cleaning, painting, doing the repair part of it. All in all, I really don't have a whole lot in the repair. I think I've got like 40 bucks in the fiberglass and the resin. The paint, I don't know what I've got. $15 in paint maybe, so 55 bucks. I don't know what else. That's about all I got. And I told you I don't have a whole lot in this canoe. I give the man 50 bucks for it. So all in all, just a little tick over 100 bucks for this 17-foot 4-person canoe. It's actually 3.5 horsepower capable. I was looking at the tag when I was inside there putting their patch on the inside. It's capable of 3.5 horsepower motor. It'll never see a motor on it. It'll be powered by me. So all in all, I'm happy with it. I'm really happy with it, and we will pick back up in the morning and we'll figure out a paint scheme. All right, everyone, welcome back. Fast forward about 2.5, 3 weeks since we last talked about this canoe here and met on it. And I'll be honest with you, once that primer, I let that primer cure for about 24 hours. We come out here just of an evening after work, after school, whatever it have been. We give this thing a brown base coat. Now this is enamel paint that's on here. It's actually from Ace Hardware. I've got Ace Hardware local to me here. It's family owned, so I support them. This is a marine enamel brown. It's called leather. It's called leather satin is what it was. That's the base coat, and as you can see here, it's just got an old school camo paint job on it. Now, I was talking about the age of this boat. I actually, when I was doing the work to it and sanded it down here on the front side of it, I found an old hull VIN or hull ID number. This is actually a 1982 American Fiberlight canoe, so we share the same birth year. That's pretty cool. It's not the greatest canoe in the world, as you can see, and appearance-wise, we can still see our big patch here that we did on the side of it, but it is absolutely going to get the 6 or 8 trips a year that, you know, that we're going to use out of it. Now, the reason I kind of stretch this out 2.5, 3 weeks, as I told you there, We put the base coat brown on it. I let it cure for 24 hours, day and a half, 2 days, whatever it may be. I come back and I hit, you know, individual colors. I just basically took my time and did what you see here. I didn't go crazy and try to get it, done all at one time. And then this actually has 4 coats of just rattle can clear coat on it. I wanted a little bit of something to give it a little bit of protection. The whatever fiberglass this boat's made from, when I scuffed it up, I'm not sure if it's gel coated or not. I would assume it is, but this Canoe literally sucked the paint in like brand new drywall. So it has probably, between the 4 coats of clear coat and the other coats, it's probably got in that 10 to 12 coats of paint on it right now. And it took a long time for the paint to actually quit absorbing in this thing. I'm pretty amazed by the amount of paint that it took. I did paint the top rail here, as you see here. Just painted it. And there's bees all over the place here. In my yard here, there's yellow jackets all over the place. They're not aggressive, but they're everywhere. But anyways, as you can see here, from the Canoe, we'll do a little bit of a walk around. I think it turned out pretty well. I'll give you just a general brief low light condition walk around of it. Like I said, right here where my patch was, it is still obvious where the patch is. I definitely did not blend it in, and I didn't really try to. Come over here and look at the other side of it too. As you can see running down the side of it there, I just continued that old school paint job through it. All in all, really happy with how it turned out, and I appreciate you sticking it out with me. I know it's a little bit longer and lengthier video than I normally put out, but I figured it was probably something to put out there to show you that it can be done with really no big hand tools to speak of, you know, a palm sander and, you know, just regular old household tools. Fiberglass work's not a hard thing to do. It's the prep work that makes it do well. I did a little bit of inside patching to it too. I'm not going to show you that because it's just standard old fiberglass, but all in all, I think I ended up with a pretty cool, pretty neat old school camo Canoe here. We'll throw it on the trailer when we need to put some decoys out, or we want to slip through some little creeks and streams, do a little bit of duck hunting, or maybe even squirrel hunting. We've been talking about that. I might take this thing out and slip around squirrel hunt out of it just because. So all in all, I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you for watching To The Max Outdoors.